Okay, so we're going to look at the 18-inch cart. We're going to build this up. We've got a selection of tools here. I'll go through each one of those individually as we go through the build. Very, very small selection of tools. And what we're going to do first off, we're just going to cut this open and get all the parts out. All our pieces laid out here. So we have our two side panels, our back supports, our two back panels, and our three main shelves. In between that, we have all of our different hardware. So we have, depending on what system you've got, so if you've got a Technician Companion, the L2E, the rough out system, any of the 18-inch glue pull carts, you'll have, or you'll need both the back panels and the back supports, and also your selection of hanging hooks. If you're running with the GPR Plus, which is this one down here, you don't need any of this. So a lot of people are saying, well, where's that come? Where do I need that? No, you don't need that. So we can literally just remove those out of the picture and then start our build. We have a bag of hardware here, our screws, bolts, etc. So lay them here. Between the shelves, they are quite important. This one isn't as fussy with the casters as what the 36-inch cart with, because this actually does come with 4 swivel casters, so it doesn't matter which way around they go. What we do need to think about is our shelves. So we have this one here, obviously has the glue ball repair. Not only that, it has the holes for our handle to go. So if we was to put that in the middle, your handle is going to be on the middle shelf. So make sure this one goes on the top. So there's our top tray sorted. The next most important one is this one here. What you'll notice here, although these trays on the face of it look very similar, this is the one that our casters are going to bolt into. All right, so just make sure, obviously that's on the bottom, this is our middle tray, and this is our top tray. Okay, so what we're going to start off with first of all, we're going to start off with the main body of the cart. So we've got our 3 trays here. Obviously don't forget the order between our top tray, bottom tray with the glue pull repair on, and our bottom tray is going to have the holes for the casters. So next thing is our side panels. Now our side panels are exactly the same, side to side. What we want to make sure is when we're building this, that these 4 holes are facing the top. Reason why is we have 3 extra holes down here. The 3 extra holes are going to marry up eventually with the 3 holes we have on our back supports. So we just need to make sure this is facing up. So the easiest way to do it is just make sure these 4 holes. I'm actually going to build this laying down. It's how I find it a lot easier to do. What I find is I get everything loosely screwed together, put the cart on its feet, and then we can make sure we get the level in before we do everything up. So I'm going to go ahead, lay this out on the table now, and we're going to start putting the hardware together. So we have our hardware opened up here. We have 6 different packets. These 2 here, which are labelled N and P, those are going to be for our side handles, so we're going to put them to one side because we're not going to put them on just yet. We then have a packet of self-tappers, which is bag O. These are going to be for our back panel. So again, if we have our GPR Plus, you won't be needing these, but we're going to put these to one side again. We have the packet named M. These are for our casters. So we're going to put, once we've got all the framework together, all the side screws in, then we're going to go through and put these in. So I'm going to put them to one side. Then we have 2 M5 bolts, well, M5 screws. So they're like a Posi 3, or it's actually, I think they're a Phillips 3. Yes, they are. They're a Phillips 3. What you'll notice is when you have these in your hand closer, these ones here in the packet named N are slightly longer than these ones. Okay, so the majority of these carts in these screws in the L are going to be for the side sections. When we get to the back panel, which is going to go opposite side, this is our top tray. This is where the glue ball repair and the handle is. Okay, on the back side of that is where our side pieces are going to go. Now, because these clip on the side here, it's going to make the space we need to get through a little bit longer, hence why we've created slightly longer screws for you. So We'll put them to one side. Just when we put the system together, just remember not to put any screws in here because we will put the long ones in at a later date. So, we'll use a Phillips screwdriver. Now we've got those last remaining screws in. We're keeping the top one free, as we mentioned earlier. The reason I didn't want to do all the screws up tight as well is because when you screw everything up tight, you may well twist the frame. Okay, then it's going to make it harder to get the rest of these screws in. So because everything's loose, I've been able to get all the screws in. Everything's still loose, but I'm not going to tighten that up fully until I get the cart on the floor with the casters on. So now we're going to move on to the casters. So these ones here, so we have 4 braked casters, so it doesn't really matter which way around these go. And then we go to our caster hardware box. So you may find, because of the plate on the bottom of the caster, it's not necessary to run a washer on all the time. So some of the older packs had multitude of washers in there. You do not need them all. You can run the nut on bare if you wish, or you can put one of the slim washers on. It doesn't need them all. The later ones we've actually updated, so it should be a little bit easier. So what we're going to do, depending on what bolt pack you've got, you will have either a 13 or a 14 mil nut. In some cases you may have a 12. This one particularly, this one's a 12 mil, so I'm going to use either my 12 mil spanner or my 12 mil socket, whichever you prefer. Sometimes, because of the way when you lay these casters on, the way the caster hangs down, sometimes it is easier to get the spanner in there rather than trying to hold them open. But entirely up to you, whichever way you wish to do it. What you will notice on these bolts as well is they're squared off slightly on the inside of the head. The reason that's squared off, and I'll do it from the face side here, obviously these holes are squared, so what it enables you to do is lay them in there, so when we start doing up the nut, it's not going to start spinning. Okay, so that is our casters all put on. They've all been done up nice and tight. So now what we can do, we can pop this on the floor, make sure it's level, make sure it's not leaning over to one side, and then we can go and nip all these secondary screws up. Okay, so they're all nicely done up now. There's no rock on the cart at all. Now, if we were setting up this for GPR Plus, this is as far as we'd go, and obviously then we'd hang the side hangers on. But as this is going to be one of our other carts that's used all the way across the range, we're now going to place our back supports on. So you remember I told you about the slightly longer screws? That's what we're going to use now, and we're just going to put our back supports on, ready to take on our back panels. Okay, so we'll notice here we've got 4 screws left over on this. This is for the other style of carts that will have extra rib nuts in the bottom there, so we're not needed on these ones. The 8 that we've got in there is all we need for this particular cart. So what you'll notice as well is, again, we haven't done everything up hard. We've made sure that we've kept everything loose, so that when we put our back panels in, there's going to be no issues with it being sort of off skew. So now we're going to grab our 2 back panels. So we have our Keco body repair one, and then we have our lower panel. So our lower panel, just going to drop in there like this, and then the screws we spoke about earlier, which is our self tappers in the O bag, we're going to use those to fix. Now these are all pre-drilled, so they will go through quite nicely. Okay, so now's our back panel all bolted up. You notice as soon as I got the last screw in the top section, I was able to go through and tighten everything up fully. So now this is fully tightened. One thing left is our handle. So coming into the other hardware here, these bits. Now, depending on what cart you have, some carts may have the handles mounted on the side here. This one we're not going to do. We're actually going to mount it to the front. So the hardware we actually need is these two Allen bolts here. Okay, so they are a hex 5 if you're in the UK. Okay, so now there's our cart built, our handles on the front. Now we are going to be putting, as you can see, this one here is going to be a technician companion. So we will be placing our glue gun holders, and you can see this is replicated through most of the systems. Okay, this one's on the back side. Yeah, we're going to be hanging. So depending on what side is more usable to you. I always say it when you're building a 36-inch cart that has the two fixed casters and the two locking ones. I always like my casters to be opposite end to my glue guns. But like I say, it's entirely down to you. Just make sure we give that some thought. This one here, you know, for continuity, we're going to lay this on this side. This will be in our tools package, but this is the base cart package. So this sort of covers everything that comes in the cart. Now, a couple of things we have left over. Obviously, we have nuts and washers here, and we have our hangers, which depending on what style of backboard you're going to have, these hangers will be used to hang all those tools. So what we're going to do now, this one is, like I say, is a technician companion. So we're going to bring all the technician companion tools over, lay them out onto the table, and then we'll start putting.
How long is it going to take, Kev?
Longer if you keep stopping. Go on.